Good evening and welcome into another edition of Starvey Sundays here in Nashville alongside Joe Bulovas. I'm Billy Derrick here, part of the Vandy 24/7 Believe podcast network. Joe, we are once again broadcasting live from a beautiful First Bank Stadium here on West End. You can probably tell the broadcast quality has been amped up a little bit.
Yeah, how about that? We actually got a backdrop now that you can see.
Yeah, we got Joe's bright teeth and shine and smiling face on here. So hopefully we've amped it up a little bit for you guys. Hopefully the lighting isn't too bright either.
Yeah, we pulled out all the stops today, man. We got you guys can't see it at home, but we got two like movie theater looking lights that you'd see on like a movie set or something like that. This is my first time seeing something like this, other than your school picture day when you're like in grade school and you got all that stuff lined up. So it's got a little flashback to those days.
No, we're amping it up for you guys, especially with Vanderbilt at 3-0.
Yeah, especially after that win. Yeah,
I mean,
you stepping up.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Vandy's stepping up their game, and we're stepping up ours as well. So look, we got a lot tonight. We're going to talk about last night's game. We're going to talk about a lot of the historical notes from last night's game. Obviously get Joe's perspective. We're going to get into everything. Obviously touch on next week with Georgia State right here, First Bank Stadium at 6:30. But Joe, like we always do, this wouldn't be possible without yourself, Bulovas Wealth Management of Raymond James. And, we'll get to the theme a little bit later because I do like that idea. But I want to tell everybody again about Bulovas Wealth Management. If there's one thing we all share, it's that our lives are all unique. At Raymond James and right here with Joe, they believe that's worth celebrating because financial planning isn't just about numbers and figures. It's about creating the life that you envision. So whether you're building a future or preparing for retirement, a Raymond James financial advisor can guide you each step of the way, all while following a plan that's uniquely yours. That's life well planned. To learn more, call Joe, 615-645-6742. Raymond James and Associates Incorporated, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. Joe, what you got this week? I know we've introed people the last couple of weeks.
And by the way, you do a phenomenal job with that intro. I need to bring a cup of coffee or some water after you get done with that because that's a pretty long spiel. But before I even get into that, there is something kind of on my mind and on my heart lately, given what transpired over in Utah, and just want to implore everybody out there to please pray for his beautiful wife and family.
Yeah.
They did a lot for this country, and Charlie did a lot of great things for this country. I'm not going to make it political. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, I ask that you please pray for them, pray for the future of this country, and especially our youth, because right now we need strong faith-based leadership now more than ever. And so if you could, please say a few prayers for this country and for that family, because
absolutely
nobody needs it more now than they do.
Yeah, I second that. Obviously was a tough week for a lot of people, obviously for the family, and then
over in Colorado, shooting horrible.
All you can do is pray, of course, and hopefully things start to change. But obviously, continue prayers for them, and then of course you had 9/11, all kinds of remembrances.
Absolutely.
And tough week in the country, but that's well said, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I felt like it might be it wouldn't be right tonight, at least touch base on that. But one of the things that is very common right now, especially from an investment perspective, is we are riding at all-time highs, and we've been riding at all-time highs for quite some time now. When you're riding at all-time highs as far as markets, everything's great, everything's doing very, very nicely, but it also is another time for caution and a time to revisit your portfolio, see where your areas of weakness are, and could be susceptible to a downturn. So I implore everybody out there, please take a look at your portfolio. A lot of people right now don't realize how susceptible they are to downturns right now. If you've held NVIDIA from the early days, holy cow, you might have a huge overweight in NVIDIA. Now, not saying it's going to go up or down, but we don't want to be too concentrated and have our portfolio too concentrated in one thing. So I implore you to please look at your portfolios. It's always a great time when you're riding at all-time highs for a while to relook at that reallocation strategy, potentially revisit, rebalance, adjust accordingly. So I implore you to please take a look at that. And if you have any questions or want another set of eyes on things, my team and I, we're happy to point you in the right direction.
There you go. There you have it from Joe Bulovas. And we'll get to I guess that's a theme, but we'll send it back to you at the end for kind of your theme of the week.
That's real. I'm doing that right now.
Yeah,
in my own portfolio. So It's very much a real thing. You need to rebalance and revisit allocation strategies every now and then, and especially when the market is as expensive as it's ever been and as highly priced on a PE ratio standpoint. We really want to take another glance and see, like, look at our allocation strategy, look at and see what can be adjusted here. Where are we susceptible to downturns if they come around? So it's a good idea to do that periodically, and now I would really encourage it.
Well, like you encourage people to look at those downturns. You're not encouraging people to look at the downturn of Vanderbilt football. That is a rising stock.
Absolutely not, man. I'd buy that stock every day of the week,
especially right now. And again, live comments. So if you're watching live, fire away any comments or questions you got. We got one from Jake and Cameron that said black and then gold. Golden Dad, anchor down, fellas. I've been trying to tell everybody, but all they do is laugh.
Well,
so, there's no laughing anymore.
There's zero laughing. I mean, we've got a beautiful stadium behind us. We've got phenomenal people in that building doing a phenomenal job, man. Any Vandy fan that's been out there from the get-go knows, it's humble beginnings here, and Coach Lee has done a phenomenal job. I keep saying that over and over. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it really wasn't only a matter of time before you start to see this program have success, because they're led by the most phenomenal people around, and players included. So it's so fun to watch. I've probably said that like 500 times already on the show. Like, it's fun to watch, but it is. It
is. I mean, objectively, this season, there are only 3 games in, and it's been electric. I mean, you start with week 1, and Diego Pavia said before the season, and we'll get into this game, but Diego said before the season, we want to be pure fireworks on offense.
Yeah.
They've been pretty close to that.
They've been really close to that. They've brought fireworks when they need to, and, they've been challenged, but they haven't been tested. Like, we beat all the teams that we played pretty handedly. But what I love about offense and defense, even special teams, is, we're playing to an identity, right? Yep. The defense, Coach Lee used to preach, and I know he still does. He wants people at home to, like, want to turn the TV off because it's so violent out there when we're on defense. And like you said, with Diego wanting to be like pure fireworks in offense, we've shown that we can do that. We can strike on a dime, but we're also playing to our identity, and that's control the ball, control the line of scrimmage, control the clock. That's probably one of the biggest ones that's not talked about enough, is controlling the clock. Vanderbilt had control of the entire South Carolina game. Yep. Even when it was a dogfight in the beginning stages, you could tell the momentum was always with Vandy. Now the stadium, filled with Gamecock fans and all that stuff, and playing Sandstorm.
That was electric.
Yeah, it's a really cool place to play. It really is. But Vandy, Vandy was always in control.
Yes, they were always in control. But watching Vanderbilt, and you might say this about your time there, and from watching Vanderbilt my entire life, that atmosphere used to strike fear into fans, and then it would strike fear into the team. And, you would almost feel out of the, and then a big play, couple big plays early on, you're down 14-0, and the game feels over very early. But that's a good point you make. They controlled the entire game from start to finish, but especially from start. Early on, they had to settle in, but they were not scared. Trey Richardson with a solid return to begin the game, and then they get settled in. So,
well, it takes everybody to buy into that. Like, it takes guys that aren't wavered by the outside influences. So, heck, it's not like anybody from the stands is going to come try and block one of Diego's passes. They're not going to, interfere with a run block scheme. Like, they can't do anything for the game. All they can do is play on emotion. And if you have a group of guys playing to a standard and leaving a lot of the emotion out of it. Now, I love that now the way that Coach Saban used to phrase this is like, I love to have guys that play with emotion, but not guys that play emotionally.
Right.
And all the crowd can do is bring out heightened emotions, and the guys that can block that out and focus on their job, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're playing. I mean, heck, Coach Lee jokes about it, but he's pretty darn dead serious about it. Like, put the ball down on Jess Neely or Natchez Trace, and we'll play whoever.
Right.
Because we've got the guys that are focused on the right things. They're doing things the right way, and they want to get better. This team gets better and better each week, and it's really, heck, I'm saying it again, it's really fun to watch.
No, you're right. I mean, look, let's get into this game. Vandy knocks off. That's not the right term. No. Vanderbilt dominates South Carolina 31-7, snapping a 16-game losing streak to the Gamecocks.
And doing so in a big way.
Yeah. First win in a conference opener since 2011 against Ole Miss, which I thought was pretty notable.
Mm-hmm.
You go through some of these seasons and, a lot like your last year at Vanderbilt, Kentucky and Florida wins. Those were late in the year.
Right.
And sometimes, as a Vanderbilt program, you can sneak up on a couple teams and catch them late in the season, but Vanderbilt to start SEC play 1-0, that's pretty noteworthy and something that I think stands out. Also, the last road win against a ranked team came against number 6 South Carolina in 2007. So something, and Bobby Johnson was a head coach.
Yeah,
and
I remember Coach Lee. I didn't catch the post game interview live, but I saw he gave a special tribute to him. And I think there's going to be, if there's another coach here at Vandy down the line that played for Clark. Gosh, it's so strange to say that. Coach Lee. I get caught saying that now. I guess as a former player, it's okay.
Yeah.
But if there's a guy that comes down the road that played under Coach Lee and is the head coach, like, you're going to have a lot of those, shout out moments or, hey, Coach Lee influenced me a ton or whatever it looks like.
Right.
Because he's influenced so many guys in a positive light throughout his time coaching, even only a handful of years here. I still hear him, his what he would say in my ear, just like in everyday life. So he's been so influential on such a large number of guys, and a lot of the guys I played with who got into coaching. So I expect that what Coach Lee did with Coach Johnson there, and dedicating that game to him, that's going to be paid forward.
That's a good point.
Give it a couple decades maybe, but
I could definitely see that happening. Yeah, eventually, get down the road. But right now, that meant a lot to Clark because obviously you played under Bobby Johnson,
exactly,
and he learned a ton.
That's what I was
from
trying
him.
to get at.
Right,
very similar circumstance down the road.
Yeah,
if it arises, that's
because that's a good point. And I didn't think about that.
It's the type of guy Coach Johnson is.
Yeah,
type of guy that Coach Lee is. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because Clark is. Well, you played under him. I've worked with him and talked with him. Clark's a unique guy. There aren't a whole lot of other coaches in the country like Clark Lee, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing with this program right now.
Heck, he's also a bodybuilder now. I don't know if you knew that.
He does look bigger.
The dude looks cut up.
He does look
man.
bigger.
I joke with him every now and then. And like, man, when are you entering World's Strongest Man competition sometime?
No, he's really impressive, and what this program has done is obviously impressive. But Bobby Johnson's a South Carolina guy from Columbia, and of course he's the last coach to beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
The last Vanderbilt coach to beat South Carolina. So I don't think there were many dry eyes in that post-game locker room, and you could tell Clark getting a little bit emotional after the game. And I think Bobby Johnson played at Clemson, if I'm not mistaken, too. So he's got that going for him as well. A couple other notes though, Joe. That's now 3 straight wins of 20 points or more to open the season. First time that's happened since 1930.
Yeah.
So they haven't just been beating people; they've been dominating.
They have, and so it's going to be. They've done a phenomenal job. Give credit when it's due. They're going out there, they're playing to a standard and doing things at a really high level. And like I said before, I keep pointing out the defense, and I think you really saw it this weekend. Again, what you saw in the second half against Virginia Tech when they completely shut them down, you saw them pick right back up with South Carolina, and it was so fun to watch. Obviously, their starting quarterback got knocked out of the game, and obviously that changes a few things here and there. But South Carolina is one of the most complete teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
They have a phenomenal staff over there, and I know Coach Lee and Coach Beamer have a lot of respect for one another. But, it was a very impressive performance on the defensive front. And obviously, offense handled business. They did a phenomenal job. A lot of guys contributing, all over the place. And so it was really fun to watch, man.
And we got some comments flowing in here, Joe.
Good or
Jake,
bad?
They're all good. They're all good right now. Jake says, just got my tickets for Utah State. Can't wait to see the new stadium.
It doesn't disappoint. It's really neat.
It really doesn't. Alan adds in the chat, first time since the 1955 season, which ended with a Gator Bowl win over number 9 Auburn, that Vandy has started the season with 3 consecutive 20-plus points margins win. Again, adds on to that. Yeah. We do have some questions, and the questions in the chat we'll get to at the end. So stay tuned for those, because we do have a lot to get to before we answer some of those.
We got to get to a lot of things tonight.
Right.
So.
No, we'll get to your questions. Again, disciplined. When Vandy hosts Georgia State next Saturday night, Joe, it'll be the first time they will play as an AP-ranked team in the month of September, since 1956. So that's another one that I'm talking this early in the season. Right. Another one to remember. But you mentioned the defense. I want to talk about the defense first, because I thought, again, they stood out. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say more than the offense, but I mean, 4 takeaways. When you not bad.
When you have that many takeaways and you shut down an offense to where they have 1 score the whole game, people's eyes light up about that, especially in this day and age when offenses are so good at exploiting the defenses and their weaknesses. Yeah. I mean, that speaks volumes of what the defense has been able to do this year, and coordinator Gregory, like he's done a phenomenal job. Yeah, I don't know him as well as some of the other coaches that I do. Haven't played here, but he's done a phenomenal job. I know he wouldn't be the DC unless Coach Lee was all in on him. Knows exactly. Yeah, he's going to do a phenomenal job, and he's been from what I've heard from the players on defense, though, like. He's so fun to play for because he was a player. He played at every level of the game, and he coaches like a player. Mm-hmm. He's one of the guys. He was, I believe, he was with Tom Brady and the Patriots for a little bit.
Yeah, he was the green dot for the Patriots.
Yeah, for a while. And so, when you have a coach that's also played at a really high level and all levels of the game, you have those guys have a special way of resonating with current players. Right. It's just like a known fact. Like Coach Lee played, Stephen Gregory. Like we have a lot of guys, a lot of coaches on staff that played, and a lot of guys that played here.
Larry Black, Javon Hay.
Yeah, exactly. And boy, they are phenomenal coaches. They have done a phenomenal job with their guys, and I'm so glad we as Vandy alums and fans should be very, very happy that we had so many coaches stay. Because they are that good of coaches, and it's
not always easy to do.
No, to retain coaches is so hard, and that's the job of every head coach in the offseason nowadays is to retain all their coaches, and now it's even tougher because now you got to retain players. Right. So
it adds on to it.
But we're blessed that we're very lucky to have those those coaches in Magoon.
Well, I thought Steve Gregory called, like you said, a wonderful game, and we talk about offense. The offensive coordinators calling plays. Well, defensive coordinators can call plays, and you can credit defensive coordinators for calling a good play. We don't do that as much, but you were able to do that. I want to give Zaylen Wood credit too, because he had to execute the play and make the catch, but he had his first interception as a Commodore and dropped back into the zone. He showed blitz, dropped back, and you saw, I can't remember if it was the 2 safeties or the 2 linebackers. I want to say 2 linebackers came up and basically substituted for Zaylen Wood pressuring, because Zaylen didn't actually pressure. He dropped back. Sellers had no idea. Yeah. So that's that play call, and that flipped the switch, Joe, because it was 7-7, if I'm not mistaken. At that point, Carolina was getting ready to score, take the lead, and Williams-Brice was about to get really rolling. Yeah. And you had that, and that shut him down, and Vanderbilt had the momentum.
Yeah, when you have a defense that's as sharp as attack, and you've got a great coordinator calling great coverages and blitzes, it's extremely important, especially when you're playing great offenses, because those offenses are going to find rhythm. They're going to find rhythm, and they're going to find success. There's never going to be a coordinator out there that's going to tell us guys like, hey, don't give an inch. Like that's unrealistic. Like these offenses are going to find a rhythm. They're going to find a way to have some degree of success, but it's, how can we reverse that with a turnover? How can we stop that and mitigate our losses? Like, Virginia Tech was a great example. Bend but don't break. Yep. And I think that's like, if you keep fighting on defense, you're going to wear them down. Especially that's the mentality of Vandy football, man. It's we're never out of the fight. You can't break us. We're never out of the fight. We want the next opportunity to come swinging out of the gate. like it's a blue collar mentality, and so that's the approach they have on defense. And you saw with the turnovers, man, they just keep fighting and battling. No matter if the offense they're playing against has success, they keep fighting, and then those opportunities come, and they're capitalizing on them.
Yep, they're a well-oiled machine right now. I mean,
yeah,
that's a good. I think that's a solid phrase if you're thinking about how to describe this program right now. They're just a well-oiled machine. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned from the coaches to the players. Right, from the coaches' mouths to the players' ears.
They're all in line right now.
Right. A couple other defensive standouts. CJ Hurd.
Dog.
We were walking over here, and first thing you said was CJ Hurd.
That's a very talented young man.
Yep.
He's a younger guy. He is all business. Any Vandy fan out there, if you get the pleasure to meet this guy, you understand what's special about him. He's a pretty reserved guy, but he does things the right way. He plays really hard.
Really mature as a sophomore too.
He is. And I don't know if you've interviewed him.
Yeah, he's a good interview. He's smart.
He's very
smart. He's mature.
Well, you are at Vanderbilt,
Yeah. But that can be hard out of the portal sometimes.
It can be, but
definitely translates.
Yeah, so he's done a really nice job for himself. I'm glad he's seeing the success that he is, and he's added a lot of value to that defensive side of the ball. And I was joking with him the other day. I was like, man, I saw you in fall camp, man. He's got I could never do this. I sweat like a pig, man.
Yeah.
So if I start sweating, I'm sweating buckets. But he was like in long sleeves and tights, and it was at the scrimmage on Saturday.
That first scrimmage, that was like 95 degrees.
Man, they needed some EMTs on deck and some emergency people on deck, because golly, if we had more people, someone would have dropped.
Yeah, I was sitting in the stands watching that. I had to go down and fill my water.
The guys covered in long sleeves and essentially like pants, with the leggings and stuff. I'm like, man, how'd you do it? And he was like, oh, I just don't get, he said something like, I just don't get hot. I'm like, brother, Joe got hot on the sideline. He wasn't doing squat.
And coming from FAU too, so that may be part of it. But
he's trained, man.
Yeah,
he's trained.
Another guy who you've talked about a lot, Joe, Nick Rinaldi, led the team with 2.5 tackles for loss, including his 8th career sack.
Yeah,
just keeps rolling. We've talked about him. Randon Fontenette had 2 tackles for loss as well. He finally popped to me in this game. But that's that's not a negative. Like a lot of time, I've been asked about Randon and somebody asked me the other day, is like, haven't seen a whole lot of Randon. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing.
This defense is, you've had guys emerge,
right?
And if anything, that's a good thing that Rand, it's the unit.
Coaches know how good of a player he is.
Yeah.
And so obviously you're not gonna, throw as many one-on-ones to him as maybe another guy on defense you want to test, or like, when Vandy subs, a coordinator might call a shot, but that's very much a matchup deal, and they're not gonna play an unfavorable matchup to a great player,
right?
If they can avoid it. So, the fact that you don't hear certain guys' numbers doesn't mean anything negative, doesn't mean anything great. It's funny. One thing with film is, like, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. And I know the coaches and all the players have already watched the film, I'm sure, today. They had meetings about it, and they probably watched hours and hours of it, and now it's probably done with.
Yeah.
As we're just now recapping, and Vandy fans are all excited, like they've already moved on, because there's Georgia State's gonna come to town, and they're gonna try and throw the kitchen sink to shock some things up here.
Bryce Cowan forced his first career fumble there at the end.
Yeah,
that was
another great guy. I played with him.
Smothered him.
Yep.
And it was Luke.
He's
Doty,
physical, man.
Yeah, I mean, Langston Patterson goes down. Of course, we'll go ahead and hit on this. Goes down, gets ejected. He's fine. That he'll play.
Yeah,
because it happened in the first half.
Yeah,
but
I didn't think that was worthy of an ejection.
I didn't really either. I can see it looked more face mask to face mask instead of the crown of the helmet to helmet.
I mean, if you spit on the quarterback and you don't, I guess that's the wrong thing to say, but like if you nudge the quarterback,
right? Well, it's a quarterback. It's a friendly to the quarterback sport now, not just in the NFL.
And to be fair, they did call one on Diego where it was similar.
They did,
and
yeah.
it was a rough in the passer.
It goes both ways,
and it does go both ways. So I'm not saying the refs were wrong. They called it right. I think. I just sometimes some part of me says like, okay, well, this is a physical sport,
right?
And when you got Langston playing the way that he does, he's not coming in there with ill intent.
No,
he's just maybe in the football sense, yes, but it's just sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see that.
No,
you never want to see one of your buddies get tossed when you don't think the call backs it up. But,
right, and you really don't want to see Sellers get hurt either. And obviously, no,
absolutely
concussion
not.
and didn't play in the second half. But with Langston, that happened last year with Drones as well, if you remember, in that Virginia Tech game here. So, but what my point was, Langston, you don't have him for the rest of the game.
And guys stepped up.
Guys step up. Bryce, for you to be able to say, oh, we still got Bryce Cowan and Longwell and Colley and some of the young guys, Austin Howard and Jamison Curtis, who.
Well, that's what I was saying. The past few episodes here that we've done is we've got a lot of depth. At every position. I would say we have the most maybe on defense, and then at the running back room. I mean, we are like all hands
we'll
on
get to
deck
that
committee, man. Everybody's scoring touchdowns in our backfield.
You're right about that, though.
And they've done a really nice job for themselves individually, provide more value for this team, and but you saw that when Langston had to sit the rest of the game, and now other guys got to step up.
Yep.
And they did a phenomenal job of filling those shoes.
Miles Capers recovered that Bryce Cowan fumble.
Yes.
And then Raymond Fontenette forced a fumble really late, and Jordan Matthews picked it up. Yeah. A guy who we haven't talked about a ton. But
another really talented young guy.
Yeah. And so, Joe, one more thing on defense. Through 3 games, Vandy ranks top 20 in the country in rushing, total yards, and scoring defense. Steve Gregory's defense is allowing just 82 yards on the ground, 237 yards overall, and 10 points per game. Is that any good?
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. That's exactly what it is. It's not good. It's phenomenal. You don't see those types of stats. I mean,
7 points in the last 6 quarters, by the way.
That's incredible. That's incredible, especially like when we were talking about what I touched on a little bit ago, is these offenses are really high powered, especially in the SEC. The offenses are going to find success. So that even highlights just how good of a job Coach Gregory is doing with his guys. And it shows you just how aligned that this program is from head to toe, especially on defense. They're bringing the old school nature of college football back, of defenses win championships. And they're talking about playoffs. They're talking about championships here. That was supposed to be the expectation for the very beginning, and now it is. And I love the way that the guys talk in the locker room, the coaches speak about the expectations here. Is that's it. We're here to make the playoff. We're here to win national championship and SEC championship. Right. So it's been really fun to see the evolution of that.
It's been fun to see the evolution of Clark's emotions on the sideline too, and that goes along with success, right? You're going to get emotional. You're going to get fired up when you're having 4 takeaways, per game, especially toward the end there, whether it was Bryce Cowan, his forced fumble, like he's fired up, and that spreads throughout the team as well. Like
he would say, well, how do I phrase this? But
and that's how he's a defensive guy,
right?
Too.
You cut Coach Lee open; he's bleeding black and gold.
Yeah,
like he is here for the guys. He wants every single guy on this team to succeed, and he wants this program to go as high as it possibly can. So I love maybe I think it's kind of fun to watch him get on the refs. Like he's hard on the refs. He does not. He makes sure he is in their ears. Like make sure you're watching this next time. Like he just got a face full of my running back, and you didn't see it, and he almost twisted his head. He is there backing his players, always making sure the refs are on top of things, looking for things. But he's super passionate about the game and his players, and so you see that on the sidelines, and I love that. Like as a player, you want a guy you want to play for a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeve, because at the end of the day, he's genuine. And I never nobody would ever say like Clark was not genuine.
Right.
Every word he says, he means to his core. Right. And so, hell, every player's going to run through a brick wall for a guy like that.
Well, and you've seen that early on. another thing you've seen is the offense start to light things up as well. And Alan on YouTube says Trey Richardson and James L. Lassiter are such great new additions to the offensive prowess.
100%.
That leads us into the offense and what they were able to do. Pavia became the first Vandy quarterback since Jordan Rodgers in 2012 to have 4 consecutive games with multiple passing touchdowns. Cedric Alexander had 2 touchdowns, like we've talked about. He just keeps rolling, well-oiled machine.
Oh, yeah.
Vandy's offense, Joe, they have a 72% completion percentage and a 180 pass efficiency rating.
Yeah.
That's not too bad either. And they've been 61% on third downs. And rolling through some of this, Joe, that they quieted the crowd early on the opening drive. They marched 73 yards in 9 plays. They capped off that drive with an 18-yard pass from Pavia to Alexander. That drive set the tone.
Yeah.
That drive set the tone because, like we said earlier, that was an electric Williams-Brice Stadium. Maybe the toughest environment Vandy's going to play in this year. I mean, I know they're going to Texas. I know they're going to Alabama.
Yeah.
I know they're going to Neyland Stadium. But Neyland Stadium, that's Thanksgiving Saturday. And look, I'm not saying Tennessee fans aren't going to show up, but they're not going to. That was loud. Yeah, they won't. That was loud. That was everything you want in a college football night game. And for Vanderbilt to silence them in a span of, how long was that drive? 73 yards and 9 plays. So I didn't have the timestamp on it, but 9 plays, boom, you take a 7-0 lead and you set the tone.
Yeah, well, anytime you play in a tough environment, you want to silence the crowd. Yeah. And you saw once they got up pretty good, I mean, videos of South Carolina fans leaving the stadium. And so as a competitor, you go into the opposing team's stadium, that's your goal. You want the fans to leave because that's when you've done your job. And they started leaving. And when you can do that in a place that's so supportive of their players and their team, it's really special. So I'm glad that, Vandy came in, handled business. It is a tough environment. They're very passionate fans over there. They have a great game day atmosphere. But at the end of the day, it's just noise to players. And Vandy's so good at keeping their composure. I thought the offense did a really good job of keeping their composure as well with the communications signals with coming in and Diego directing the offense. I thought he did a phenomenal job because it gets really loud there, especially when you're near the end zones. It gets really, really loud.
And when you're clapping, Diego is motioning and yelling to the guys at that point when it's that loud.
So he did a really nice job with all that noise going on of directing the offense and putting them in positions to be successful. So I think the whole team handled it really, really well. Just really proud of the way they handled it.
Yeah, right after Vandy went up 7-0, though, Joe, Carolina strikes right back. Rasul Faison ties the game with a rushing touchdown. That ends up being Carolina's only points all night, though. The defense, like we talked about, they stifled the Gamecocks for the final 34 minutes of the game. And then Vandy takes a 14-7 lead going into the half. Pavia to Junior Sherrill on a beautiful route.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was all over Twitter.
Yeah. That's how you run a stick route.
Yeah, I think they call it a whip.
A whip.
You talking the one about like he stuck, acted like he was coming inside and whipped right back out.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the Junior.
Yeah.
No, that's a great route. It's a really good route on the goal line, especially if you got a shifty guy. And so many teams will run a pick on the goal line. I like the fact that they didn't. They just like, hey, we got a better athlete.
Yep,
we're gonna put him on one of your guys and let him beat you.
We've got a better athlete. We've got our matchup. And
yeah.
That's, again, the complete receiver that Sherrill is.
Yeah.
I mentioned it in the Charleston Southern game. The catch right here in this end zone, that was a physical contested grab.
It was.
That, he's grown into that.
And Junior, I might add, too, has been known as the deep threat guy. He's showing that he can make
he can be everything.
Or two and get that ball very early. Like, obviously, when you're on the goal line or a
quick
goal line situation, it's quick. You're in a very condensed field.
Yeah.
But he's shown that he can be a guy that you kind of stick anywhere on the outside perimeter and just give him the ball.
Yeah.
And he's that type of guy because he's quick, he's fast, he can make guys miss, and he can outrun people. So, heck, if you got a guy that can do all those things and catch, throw him at the ball as much as you want to. All good by me.
Yeah. And he's the guy. Every offense has sort of that go-to guy. I don't know that Vanderbilt has a go-to guy.
We have a go-to team. We are a team effort, man.
and on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. They are just such a team, man.
Well,
they are such guys, a unit.
So they're so selfless. And as a teammate, you want to be around those types of guys because heck, if I don't get if I'm not getting the ball, my job is to go block for somebody else, go extend the play. Right. And if I know I'm getting the ball, I know the guys around me are going to go block for me because I do that for them. So you've got all 11 guys aligned every time they're on the field. And so it's been, again, it's fun to watch.
And it's clear to see too.
Very clear to see.
You can tell when a team is you can tell when a team is well coached. You can see culture in a team. You can see all of that. And you see it when you watch Vanderbilt. One of the plays in particular that might just signify who Vanderbilt football is right now is the reverse to Richie Hoskins. Hoskins comes off the edge, picks up about 15 yards, and puts them into the red zone. Who lays the lead block? Diego Pavia.
Yep.
And it was a really good block. I don't think there's a quarterback in the country that lays a block like that. Maybe Haynes King over there at Georgia Tech, who is pretty physical as well. But like when you do things like that as the quarterback, man, you give your entire team license to do that.
Right. Everybody sees that. Right. And the guy that's probably in the position to be most pivotal for the success of the program
is the quarterback.
Right? And if they see their leader, not just from a football perspective, but as like a program's perspective, that has so much weight with the other guys because Diego's got this huge platform now and he deserves every bit of it, but he's holding up every single end of the bargain on the football field and being as selfless as possible. Now, I don't know if Coach Lee loves the fact that Diego's just throwing himself willy-nilly to get a few extra yards, but that we'll let them sort that one out.
Yeah.
But I know there's a piece of Coach Lee that loves that.
Oh yeah.
So but no, as a guy,
and good luck pulling that out of him.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about that the other day. Like you're not going to pull that out of Diego. He's too competitive. He's got too much, athlete and competitor to him. So But when guys see a guy like Diego do that and the leader of your team, it snowballs, man.
Yeah. Another guy, we talked about Junior Sherrill and his quickness and his burst. James L. Lassiter. He's got 2 carries this season and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
stat line, man. Not a bad way to start off.
That is not too bad. He broke the game. I broke the game open. Maybe not. I mean, he gave Vanderbilt a 2-score lead to make it 21-7.
Yeah.
There in the second half after his 44-yard touchdown. I want to touch on him, Joe, because it's important because he's played a role this year. And again,
100%.
Who knows by the end of the season what that role looks like and how we're talking about James L. Lassiter. I got a good feeling we're going to continue talking about him. Here's why. Because he makes the most of every touch. And it started in the spring, and Clark has mentioned that.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean and we saw it in the fall.
If you're touching the ball and you're making things happen every time you touch the ball, buddy, coaches are going to put that rock in your hands.
Yeah. He had one carry in particular. Do you remember the one where he spun out of a couple of tackles and picked up the first down? It was about a 6-yard run. That's who he is. He's not the biggest guy, right?
No.
He's 5'8". He's stocky though. He's got
pretty yoked up dude.
He's a big guy. He's not the tall. Like you look at him, and you kind of go, wow, this guy's an SEC player. No disrespect at all. But again, it doesn't matter to this team. It doesn't matter to those coaches. It doesn't matter. He's from Providence, Rhode Island. How many other running backs in the SEC are from Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah, I don't think any.
And how many, because that's the type of diamond in the rough that this recruiting staff has been able to find, whether it's him, whether it's Trey Richardson from D2 Washburn, whether it's Caleb Barnett, who's a freshman out of Jenks, Oklahoma, who is maybe 5'8", 160. We know about Diego as a walk-on. Gabe Fisher is a guy that, a local
Captain
kid.
America.
Yeah. Wrestler, state title.
Yeah.
I mean, Manny Adebayo, it's pretty incredible the amount of unheralded guys. And look, you're Vanderbilt, right? Clark Lee knew that. So they've probably known that at least early on, this is how we have to build.
They had a very different approach. Even when I was here and I saw what their approach was to getting recruits in, what was Vandy going to go after as far as like the type of guys they want to bring in? But after, obviously, you got to meet the eye test and be that type of player on film and have a track record of doing things at a high level as a player. But the bottom line, or the common denominator along all these guys, is they are competitors. They have a chip on their shoulder to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a guy like, I mean, we could point to Diego, like,
yeah,
you know, he has grinded his way all the way through to put him into a position that he is now to be as successful as he is right now. So, you know, you have guys that are like all in, betting on themselves, and they're looking for a place to bet on them too. As a player, you're looking for a place that's going to bet on you as well. And that was Vanderbilt. You know, Barton and Coach Lee have done a phenomenal job of finding those diamonds in the rough, but also getting guys that have something to prove and they want to do it more than anything. And so I think that's why you have so many guys seeing success now. That might have come from, you know, won't say nowhere, but just kind of, hey, where'd this kid come from? He's doing really well. He's having a lot of success. Well, it's twofold. It's the recruiting style that they're trying to implement here and have been doing a phenomenal job of, but it's also the kids, the guys that come in with that attitude to take the bull by the horns and make something of themselves and for this team. And they've provided much more value for this team, obviously. What's having them here.
James L. Lassiter. Again,
he's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is. He's an energy. He's an energizer bunny.
He's always smiling.
You know, and you mentioned the running back room, and I told you we were going to get to this. That running back room all of a sudden looks very different than it did last year. With Cedric Alexander doing his thing, you know what you're going to get week in, week out from him. He's at the point now where, you know, I'm not going to lay a stat out there and say he'll give you, you know, this isn't fantasy football where you're talking about your team saying this guy's going to get me 15 a week. But
heck, man, my fantasy team's awful. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm supposed to get 30 points from a guy. I get 10.
He's not putting him in the fantasy comparison. He's not a guy that's going to give you 40 points one week and then 10 the next. He's got a high floor of production, and he is going to. But his ability to receive out of the backfield. I mean, you saw that first catch. That's a tough catch. And then the second one, which was the most Pavia play of all time. You know, Pavia just kind of throws it back to him, and Cedric has really learned how to stay right there. Yes,
you don't know if the ball's coming or not.
Right, and Lord knows you have to with Diego under center. But he has really learned and gotten better since last year of staying there with Diego and staying in the fight and making the grab. So he, you know, had a huge first down conversion there early, which I thought was big. Caleb Barnett had a, I want to say it was an end around. Maybe it was off an option actually. Sometimes with this offense, you can't remember if it was off an end around.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts.
But what you do have is, like I said, Caleb Barnett breaking off and made one juke move, boom, first down.
Right. Yeah, and one thing, Mike, we've kind of touched on before is like this is a by committee success. Right. So that running back room, you know, with all those guys doing things at a really high level. I know Seti's done a phenomenal job, and I'm glad to see him continue having success from last year to now. But they just look really polished. You know, the offense looks really polished as a whole. The defense looks really polished. It's like they're in midseason form 3 weeks in. And I know the coaches are going to have a million things that these guys got to get better at. That's their job, to find things to improve on, and I know that they will. But they look really, really sound. Like when it looks like they're struggling, they find a way to snap out of it. And that's the mark of a great team, is whenever you're struggling, how quickly can you get out of that? Find some rhythm, find some success. It doesn't have to be a home run ball, but get back on track, get back on rhythm, and take back the control of the game. And so Vandy's done a phenomenal job about that. But it's all by committee, man. You know, the running back room, success by committee. They're having a lot of success, but the O-line has been impressive to me. They've done a nice job. I know they would probably say they might have been sloppy a couple times here and there, but man, you know, Isaiah Glass, Chase Mitchell, you know, those guys, Bryce Henderson, those guys that come to mind, man. The whole O-line room has done a nice job. I expect them to play it even more at a higher level as each game comes by. And more is going to be required of them. They're going to find that, you know, because just speaking openly, South Carolina is a very physical team. It didn't matter whether I was at Alabama or here at Vandy. I knew
they're a team you don't want to play late in the season.
No, and their guys are physical and they meet the eye test. Like, they're a big team. They're historically a very big team. And every SEC school is going to be that way. And so that's what I'm kind of getting at, is like, more is going to be required.
Especially defensively, historically, for South Carolina.
Right. Yeah. Especially on the D-line. Yeah. That's why I mentioned the O-line with that. But more is going to be expected of the offensive line going forward. I know they're up for the task. You've got a lot of great people in that room, led with a great
Coach K.
Yeah, great coach there.
Coach Nady as well from North Dakota.
Right.
Who
so they
has been really impressive. He brought Bryce along with him, which has been huge.
And they've done a phenomenal job. I still need to go play beach volleyball with Bryce.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bryce is a big dude. He's 6'8".
Yeah, I know he's a big dude. He said one day, like, I was working out in the weight room, and we were just talking about volleyball. I was like, yeah, me and my buddies, we go play every now and then. You want to come by? And he's like, yeah. I was like, have you ever played before? I don't think.
Beach volleyball is pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
But like, you work on your agility, but it's.
But we kind of got in the slump of fall camp, and now we're in the season, so we won't be playing any volleyball until after the season. Because the last thing I need is he was playing volleyball with Joe, and like he twisted his ankle. Like, great.
So get out of here, Joe.
Yeah. I'm not gonna mess with anybody, any of the players for all that. But the more is going to be expected of those guys. I know they're up for the challenge, but I was impressed with them this game.
Yep, no doubt. You look at some numbers here, Joe. We've been really positive today, and it's hard not to. But I do want to kind of hit on hit on this with you with some negatives and maybe some things to clean up.
Always things to clean up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because look, it is easy. Look, you're 3-0. You're ranked number 20 in the country.
It is the satisfactory slump, or is going to be very easy to fall into.
Right.
Very easy to fall into.
Get complacent.
No, not at all.
You cannot, and Clark knows that. Lord knows he knows that, because he's admitted that they've gotten complacent within this program in the past. But Diego, you look at his numbers: 18 of 25, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 77 QBR. So you look at that and you go, kind of similar to last week, where Diego wasn't incredible, or those numbers don't jump off the page necessarily. But again, we've made this point, he doesn't have to. But he had the interception. He'll tell you he wants it back.
100%. Yeah.
That's a play that, if we're 5-6 games down the road of the season, you can't make.
No.
And look, they were up 21-7.
Right.
South Carolina didn't score, so and then you end up getting a field goal from Brock Taylor, which I want to hit on too. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Diego knows he wants that back, but the thing about Diego is he's going right back out there. That's what is most impressive about him.
Yeah, he has very short-term memory.
He has the shortest memory, and I respect
having a quarterback back there taking snaps from the center that's going to take a little bit of risk. That has, we're not going to say a certain word for it, but is gutsy.
There you go.
yeah, he's gutsy with the ball, but he does it within reason, right? He knows when not to take those shots. Now, we were, like you said, we were up by what 2 touchdowns at that point?
Yeah, 21-7.
Yeah, so I don't hate the fact that he's trying to make something happen. I know, obviously, as a competitor, you're going to want to have certain throws back, especially as a quarterback, or especially as a running back. You get on film and then you see the hole the next day and like, oh gosh, I would hit my head on the goalpost.
Yeah,
right. If I just slow down a second. But I don't think there's anything to be alarmed about with the. I wouldn't even say lackluster numbers, because those are really good numbers.
No,
he's doing a phenomenal job of playing his role as a team player. He's not having to go out and make Johnny Manziel type plays to give his team a fighting chance. He's got a great defense behind him. He's got guys on offense that are playing at elite level and collectively together. It's a really hard team to play if you're on the other side from Vandy. Like, as they go through this season, I don't think this is just my opinion. I don't think Diego has to force anything. Now, his numbers going to be called to do certain things here and there, specifically tailored to him, which is just going to be unique to every single game plan. That's every week. But I love the fact that he doesn't have to play out of his mind to give us a fighting chance.
Yeah.
We've got a team that complements each other in every phase. Our defense isn't doing so well. All right, well, our offense is out there throwing darts and we're rocking and rolling and scoring on every drive. If our offense is struggling, well, our defense picks it up, stops the other team's offense in their tracks. And they've played complementary football, and holy mackerel, I can't even count the amount of times that Coach Lee has talked about playing complementary football.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that is a huge point of emphasis. All three phases.
Interlocked.
Yes. Yeah. But it's so true.
I might be better. No, you played for Coach, but and I laugh about this with Joey Dwyer, who covers Vandy as well.
I'm sure you guys have some good data behind all this.
But it's just he's got his one-liners, and I may be better at you than them.
You probably are. You hear them more now.
Well, that's the thing. Now, when you cover the team,
when I was playing, I could rattle them off like that, But it was nothing like cheesy. It's like everything he says is true.
Oh, yeah.
He says it because it's darn important.
Well, and you mentioned something too. I thought was really good.
Heck, I've got my isms too, the Joe-isms. I'm sure people can tell me what they are.
The first Joe-ism I ever learned was "Don't work too hard today." I was like,
yeah, I say that as a joke, and then I go slave away and work my tail off until Miss Lauren gets upset with me for being away for too long.
Well, I remember one day you said that after lunch or something, and I did take it to heart. I was like, I'm not going to work too hard today. But
yeah, but anybody who's saying that is already working their tail off, and they're just saying it as a joke. But yeah, I do say that a fair amount. So if you're around me, you've definitely heard that one a good bit.
But what I was hitting at with Clark is a lot of those Clarkisms and what he has said and the things he's preached have come to light not only this season, but a lot of them last season. You mentioned jump back into the fire. Body.
It's actually step back into
the fire.
Throw a punch.
What other ones? I mean, and I'm not this.
Every blade of grass.
Sounds kind of silly, but every blade of grass.
But that's all those things. All the things that he preaches. Those one-liners. They are so representative of Vanderbilt football, and I love them because it truly is like a band of brothers. The team fights for every blade of grass. It's inspiring to see so many great people and great young men on that team play so collectively together and play as hard as they do, and see them have success is fulfilling. It's fun to see good men have success, and I know it's not always going to be perfect, but they're striving to make Vanderbilt football something that Coach Lee and them put together collectively in a group effort, and so it's fun. It's really cool to see, and I'm glad that Coach Lee's vision is aligning with the team. He's got a lot of great guys that are behind him and working with him on it. So it's from the top down, man. It's a unified front. Yeah.
Clay on YouTube says, "Cool look at the stadium at night with the game lights on," and that's a fair point back there in the south end zone. That is a pretty cool
it don't
look.
Look too shabby, man. Yeah.
We've also got a question from Justin. He says, "Anchor down," and then he asks, "What kind of watch are you rocking, Joe?"
Well, I appreciate that, buddy. This is an old Michael Kors watch, but it's definitely my favorite. I wear it pretty often.
Yeah.
But I got it back when I was playing at Alabama, and what they do and what Vandy I'm hoping we'll get to here soon is like a bowl suite. When you go to the playoff, you get a little bowl suite. And every year we win, I got a watch. Guys would get Beats headphones.
Bowl was like when you walk into your room.
Well, it was like a
at
point
the hotel
system.
Okay.
So they would have this company that came from the national championship playoff committee, and so they would have a bunch of items that were all on a point system. You could use like up to 8 points.
Okay.
So a watch might be like 4 or 5. They'd have a TV for like 6 or a recliner for like 8.
Okay.
And all the guys, they'd get the Beats pill or, they'd get some surround
the JBL
sound.
or something.
Yeah, man, and think that they got a steal with it. I'm like, that's cool. But you know what? that's gonna be busted, or you're gonna drop it in water in the next 3 years, and then you're like, well, I ain't got that anymore. So I want to get something timeless. So that's why I got to watch each time.
Look at that little story behind it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
it. I like it.
I'm a pretty simple guy, but I do have some stories here and there.
There you go. Damani says, looking sharp, fellas. Appreciate it, Damani. We will get to some of the other comments and questions a little bit later. We are coming up on an hour here. This may be the longer, look, I say this might be the longest one of the year. I don't know. I think there's more wins coming, Joe. That's the thing.
Gosh, I hope so. I hope we don't stop at 3.
Well, there's more wins like this where we go, man, because the way this season is tracking.
Well, that's the expectation, right? That's the vision for the program is
right.
These wins are not surprises.
Right.
They're not out of the blue. They're not like.
Did anything surprise you Saturday night?
Well, that's a great question.
Like pleasantly.
I appreciate you asking that. What was
that? Could be negative too.
No, I was surprised.
Could be about South Carolina.
I was about to say I was surprised at how quickly South Carolina lost confidence, because you could see it on their sideline as soon as Sellers went out.
Well, that was a wild sequence too. I want to hit on that because Sellers goes down, and everybody's kind of thinking, well, what's his status? Is he going to come back?
Right.
And Doty goes in there late in the first half. They don't get a score. And you saw how upset Beamer was. That was a massive sequence in that game. Not to mention you throw Sellers being out for the rest of the second half in there.
Right.
That killed South Carolina. But I don't want, if you're a Vanderbilt fan, if you're the average college football fan in the country, I don't want that to overshadow the win. And because Vanderbilt was up 14-7 with Sellers, they had just taken a 14-7 lead with Sellers in there.
Yep.
And you saw the way Vanderbilt's defense was starting to capitalize on Sellers in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
You saw early, like you said, Gregory and the defense, they had to settle in. But I just wanted to make that point that around the country, you're going to have people saying, well, Sellers got hurt. But look.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that it's never one thing for the reason things pan out. That's true in life. That's true in football.
Yeah.
It's never one thing, right? It's never one play. It's never one player. It's a collective effort one way or the other.
Yeah.
And one thing but it did surprise me that like you could see it on the faces of the players and coaches that they had a defeated attitude from what I gathered.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong.
Yeah. No, I was surprised by that too.
But it looked like they almost like they were like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
There it goes. We probably won't win this one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It looked, whatever was going through their minds, it looked negative. It looked defeated. And Coach Lee, especially at Vandy, he always tried to get the mindset to change, because for such a long time, we would have a team get up on us, and the mood on the sidelines, not from me and not from a lot of the guys, but for some guys, would be like a very defeated one, like, oh, here we go again, attitude. And I'm not saying every guy had it. I didn't have it. Most of the team didn't have that attitude.
Yeah.
But you had you had a handful of guys that did. And so Coach Lee was always trying to get that out of the program. And so when I saw that on South Carolina and their faces, I was like, that's a little different. That they like, and it had nothing to do with like them being out of the game at that point. They were very much in it.
Right.
But they looked defeated.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get into a rhythm. And I think the team understood, like, man, we can't get anything going like without this guy. So now you take a South Carolina that's going back to the drawing board after what just happened, and the whole team's like, well, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, well, if he's not ready to go, we won't be competitive.
Right.
So that, I don't know how long Sellers is out for. I haven't looked into that, but that's a big blow for their team.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally.
They got Missouri
and
this week.
Performance-wise. And Missouri looks solid too, man. They've been up and down, but I think they're going to be another
They're
really
clicking
solid.
on offense too.
They are.
Yeah.
Where are they ranked? Do you know?
They are top 20.
Top 20.
That's a good question.
Obviously, and Billy, just for everybody out there, where are we ranked now?
Number 20.
That's right.
Number 20.
Right. Do you think that's an appropriate ranking?
I told some people last night, because I was asked about it after the game. I was thinking in the high teens, 18, 19. Because
my specific number that I had was 17.
17.
I thought we
had
were going to
18.
jump to 17 or 18, but in my mind it was 17.
Yeah, I had 18 in my mind because I was looking at, okay, if South Carolina is number 11,
right?
And Vanderbilt is unranked, but not far outside. You'd think they'd move into the teens, because you went on the road and beat number 11 in the country.
Well,
I do think some of this could have been Virginia Tech's result yesterday.
I think
did you see
too.
that?
Yeah, I did.
By the way, Brent Pry has been fired. We don't celebrate firings, of course. And a ton of respect for Brent Pry, the guy that was at Vanderbilt under James Franklin.
Right.
He'll land on his feet. He's a really good defensive mind. That's a great defensive coordinator out there for somebody.
Right.
Started the year 0-3, and so maybe that factored into it.
Yeah. Well, for Vandy's perspective, there's a couple jokes running around in our office that were Vandy fans. They're like, man, I hope Vandy just stays as low, like as low ranked as possible outside of the top 10 or whatever, because we just don't want them to get highly ranked and then lose focus. We want them to be always on the lower side of the rankings. I'm like, well, to be honest with you, I don't think if they were even ranked number 1 at some point, that team would lose any fight. Just knowing the team and knowing the coaches in there, and just knowing that you're not going to take that fight out of them. They're still going to approach it the same way. So you've got some Vandy fans probably hoping like, hey, don't rank them too high. Yeah, we need them to have that fight in them. But I'm not worried about these guys. They're phenomenal competitors.
You had Missouri at number 23, so that's where you got Missouri. Auburn is at 22. Michigan at 21. Notre Dame at 24 after their loss. We were talking about that earlier.
2 losses, and they're still ranked.
2. Yep, they dropped 16 spots.
Sheesh.
So
I'll tell you what, man. They like Notre Dame, man.
Well, tradition-rich program.
And I know
some of you may know I'm a Notre Dame. I'm partial to the Irish.
Yeah.
But Georgia Tech as well. They were not. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech are the 2 teams that popped up in the rankings. Georgia Tech
Coach Key was there with me at Alabama, and he was at UCF with Blake Bortles when they went on their really good runs.
I didn't realize that.
And Coach Key's done a phenomenal job.
He has.
Over there. Recruiting wise, he brought in Haynes King. They've had a lot of success, but very, very similar program to here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've said that. I said that last year when they played
chip on the shoulder program.
That's why I was so excited to see that matchup.
And I love what Key said in the on the field afterwards. He sent out the kicker for that game-winning 55-yarder, and he was like, the reporters asked him like, what went through your mind when you call the field goal team out there or something along those lines. He's like, well, heck, I believe in my players.
Right.
I hear it, that as a recruit, as a high school kid or a recruit, like you want a coach that believes in you. I was like, I was looking at Miss Lamar. I was like, that's a pretty good way to recruit over there.
Not too bad
at Tech, man. Yeah. But heck, I mean, anytime you see Coach Lee in his interviews, man, like, if I was 18 years old, send me to West End, brother.
Well, what's interesting is both Georgia Tech and Vandy had upsets per se, but because they beat Clemson at home. Vanderbilt
no upsets to these guys.
No.
The talks that I had with players earlier this week, like that was no surprise.
Right.
That was the expectation.
The line got down to 2.5. And it started at 7. It started at 7.5.
Vegas is screwing up over there, bro. They are not watching the film on Vandy.
You wonder if how much it changes, because you got Georgia State and Utah State. Those will be pretty long lines.
Watch them be 2.5 again.
Something would be really wrong if that was the case. But at Alabama, that'll be interesting, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We do have some comments and questions to get to, and then look ahead to Georgia State, because we are a little over an hour now. I want to get to this question from Cameron on YouTube. Do you think we could see Jordan Matthews be a co-coach?
Well, heck, he's already on the sidelines. Volunteer position, I believe.
The shift with Jordan Matthews, you used to see him just at fall camp. He'd show up at fall camp and he'd talk to the guys and kind of hang around and give some pointers.
And he's a great ambassador to the program.
Absolutely.
I know Coach Lee is really happy to have him. He does a phenomenal job with the players. I think at some point, if I haven't spoken with Jordan more than a couple times, just here and there, and we certainly haven't discussed his future. Whether it's still playing football or getting into coaching or where he's anything like that. But I think having a guy like that who's meant so much to this university and this program and is willing to give back in some way, shape, or form, it would be invaluable.
Right.
And we have so many guys on staff now that played here, and that goes a long way. They're passionate. They are going to believe in what's going on here,
right.
And so it goes a long way. I saw some of the videos of Jordan Rodgers and Jordan Matthews.
Yeah. They threw them back. They popped those up. Yeah.
Yeah. Of them, like, so obviously Jordan's doing the SEC Network stuff, and he was at South Carolina, and so like before the game they connected, like tossed the ball back and forth and stuck.
That was a really good duo right there.
Oh yeah.
They put up a lot of yards on this field. Something that's interesting though with Jordan is, like I said, the difference between him last year and this year is that you're seeing him on TV on the sideline, so it's clear that he's on staff in some form.
Right.
That will be you'll realize what he's doing with the program here soon. An interesting question. Somebody on YouTube said, "Do you think Brent Pry would be interested in being an advisor?"
Brent Pry,
Virginia Tech's head coach, who was just relieved of his duties,
coming to Vandy.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you feel free to say, Billy, that's ridiculous.
I don't. Is that your question, or did someone ask that?
Somebody asked that, and I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But he's been relieved of his duties.
Right.
So
there's a lot of coaches out there that are phenomenal coordinators. They are phenomenal position coaches, but they're not always best suited to be head coaches. Right. And maybe who knows? Maybe he goes on to have a phenomenal career as a head coach somewhere else. I don't know. I throw that out to you because I think that's actually a really good question. I didn't know if there was any actual talk about that, or
I don't think there is, but it's kind of interesting to talk about.
Coach Lee he gives everybody an opportunity to show him, or at least have a discussion about things. And he's a very humble guy. So he's constantly trying to learn more about the game. Right. So, especially like, the offensive perspective of bringing in Jerry Kill and Coach Beck and Diego
Bob
and
Shoop on defense too.
Right. So he's always looking to add value at every way and every stop of the road. So
how can we impact winning? That's
exactly right. How can we impact winning? Does it correlate to winning football games and creating better young men? Like that, at the end of the day, that's the goal. Yeah. Those are the two goals there. And building this program, I guess make it three. But I wouldn't rule it out. Certainly wouldn't rule it out. I think
it's interesting to think about because Brent Pry has faced you twice in the last couple of years. And he's lost, but he's seen you. So I just want to throw that out there.
He's also tied to Vandy. Like,
he coached at Vanderbilt.
That's actually a really valid question. I like that one. I think it's don't rule it out by any means.
Yeah. And it's so rare this early to you feel for him, but it's rare this early, and who knows? Keep that one in your back pocket. Jamie Parker on YouTube. Hey guys, do you think James L. Lassiter will be getting more work now?
Yeah.
two carries, 2 touchdowns. No, I think, so do they stick with the?
I think he probably they've got a committee back there, man. They've got 3 horses that can absolutely go. I think you see that guy really start to take more reps, but they wanted them to be quality reps. Like, I know Seti is probably the number 1 guy, and he's done a phenomenal job. And things change during the season. Injuries happen, stuff comes up. That's natural. What happens with body of work in a season. I don't see how he doesn't get more reps, but at the same time, everybody's doing such a good job. If it's broke, don't fix it. He's a young guy. He's going to have plenty of opportunities down the road. He's a guy that's probably the future. You don't want to
put a spoke in that wheel. You want to keep that thing moving.
Whatever success looks like, whatever it has to be, Vandy's going to explore that. So I hope he continues to have success, but it's always going to be quality over quantity here at Vandy.
Well, what's interesting on that touchdown, that was a simple read option.
Yeah, but he makes something happen every time. That's why I believe he does get more touches.
At
least maybe a more balanced
positive yardage
number. Yeah,
that's the type of player that he is. And what I was going to say on that is Pavia. That South Carolina defense went to Pavia. They weren't even thinking about Lassiter getting a touch there and following through. No. So maybe that continues where he has 2 carries at 2-3 carries a game, and you can that's a tough.
Well,
that's a tough carry because
you have every team essentially doing that now, man.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, every team on defense that Vandy is going to play going forward is going to be fixated on maybe 3 guys, but obviously we know who they're going to be keying most of all. Like if they're going to tell a defensive end, like, hey, on the handoff, if you can get there, you go smoke Diego.
Right.
Like they're probably saying that.
Oh yeah.
Don't take out the running back. Usually rule of thumb is like, hey, if you get there at the mesh when the quarterback's handing the ball off and he's reading you, like they tell you most of the time, go get the running back, because most of the odds are the running back's going to get the ball.
Right.
Now, and then you force your quarterback out, but they want to they want to limit Diego's production. So how do you do that? Make him the focal point of your defensive scheme, which if you're doing that, like if you play with a spy, that takes one guy out of the equation to only one player every single time out of the original scheme. So it opens up the door for a lot more guys to have success at the running back position, opens up Eli a lot more. Well, people are already pretty scared about him, so they're making sure he's taken care of, but he's finding ways to get open. It's presenting opportunities for new receivers on the perimeter, like, you know, Trey Richardson.
Yeah.
You see these names getting called out is because everybody's keying Diego. They're trying to shut Diego down, and he's getting the ball to other people where there's gaps in the defense. So it's really cool to see the evolution of Diego and distributing the ball to his playmakers and the guys on offense. So it's been really cool to see that the evolution of him and the offense. And that's probably why you don't see the numbers jumping off the charts.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a game plan for Diego, and he's still having a ton of success. He's playing at a very high level. Yeah. He's also letting his guys do their job because they're open.
All right. Couple of deep shots that were missed. One to Trey Richardson in particular that, you know,
and I know he wants that one back too.
Yeah. But look, we're nitpicking here. He had some really good throws. I mean, he had a dart up the middle to Eli Stowers.
His deep ball game so far this season's been phenomenal.
Yeah. The accuracy is uncanny. Another question from Alan. Is it still too early to say we actually are more talented than our other SEC teams like South Carolina? I think we not only outcoached and outplayed South Carolina, but that we're actually more talented.
Well, one thing I'll say to that is that Vanderbilt meets the eye test now. From every position group, you've got guys that are big, fast, and physical. So, and I believe that every player at Vandy, like, hands down, I'm never going to not bet against. I'm never going to bet against this team, man. Like they play with their hair on fire, and they're great guys. So, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to do a phenomenal job and leave it all out there. I do think there's a certain level of talent at Vanderbilt that is much more competitive than years past, but it's also hidden gem talent. It's not your 5 stars out of high school. It's not your, you know, top 25 transfer recruit in the portal. It's guys that, like I've said before, have that chip on their shoulder, have something to prove, and want to be something bigger, part of something bigger than themselves, and also part of, like, kind of be part of an underdog program and mentality. Now, there's nothing really underdog about Vandy. Well, there is, but not nearly what it used to be because of what they've been able to do. Yeah, but they are extremely talented. But they're Barton and Coach Lee have done so in a way of generating talent to come here. That's so like revolutionary that it's not waking up the boards of recruiting, like, you know, rivals. We're not getting 5-star guys across the board from the portal and out of high school. It's guys that got passed up. Right. The right people for Vanderbilt. Right. And playing as a team. The right pieces of the puzzle are coming to Vanderbilt, and now they're here. So I don't know if they're, like, you know, I don't know how to answer the talent question, because they're as talented as they come. I think they're competitive with every single team in the SEC. Yeah. But
here's what I'll say on that.
They're right guys to be here.
Yeah. I think the depth of talent is probably better than South Carolina's. The top end stars, Vanderbilt may not be comparable to South Carolina with. You've got Lenore Sellers, who is a freak. I mean, that, you know, when that guy's on, he's really tough to defend. Right. And then Dylan Stewart as well on the edge. But in talking to Vandy this past week, that's another difference. And I'm going to bring it up. Bryce Henderson, you know, that quote was whatever. You know, he was asked about Dylan Stewart and the matchup with him on the edge, and Bryce said, look, he's whatever, and you know, but we're not worried about him. We're not worried about a single player. We're worried about us because we know how good we are. We have confidence in ourselves, and we're going to go up there and show them what's what, and people are going to take notice.
Everybody,
you could say he guaranteed a win, but whatever it was, they're a confident football team, and you know, well, at the end of the day, that when you get into the fight, when you get into that ball's kicked off.
Yeah. Well, Vandy,
that's irrelevant.
Every team's going to talk about like, oh, just focus on what we do. It's not about them, but like Vandy plays in such a way that it is truly about Vandy. You know, from the
Clark has said the only team
identity,
that beats Vanderbilt football is Vanderbilt.
That's exactly
football.
Right. I mean, this team is unstoppable when they're clicking on defense and playing to their identity and doing the same thing on offense and special teams. You know, they truly do things differently, and it is about them. The only thing that can beat Vanderbilt football is Vanderbilt football. So as long as we got 11 guys in unison doing what they're supposed to do and playing at a high level with a high level intensity and trying to, you know, kick the guy's ass in front of them. I'm excited for this team. I really am.
Is from Justin, is Lassiter higher than Newberry on the depth chart, and is he the fastest running back?
Man, these are some tough questions here because I think they're all phenomenal running backs. I mean, you got 4 guys.
By the way, we forget to mention Newberry, but he is another guy that at times can hide in the weeds, but you bring him out like Auburn last year, and he catches a 20-yard touchdown.
There's games where they have a ton of weight in the decision or the outcome of that game. And so how many we've touched on 4 running backs today, right?
Yeah.
MK Young, throw him in there.
Yeah.
Another great guy. But you've got a committee at running back that all play at a very high level, and they complement each other really well.
AJ is used a lot like some of those receivers too on the end arounds. So he's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife.
And they are all pretty versatile guys. You know, Swiss Army knife. Heck, you know, they do things really, really well. They complement each other's style of play very nicely. And so they provide a lot of value. But, you know, it's tough to say, you know, the depth chart or like how things are going to unfold as the season goes on because nobody has a crystal ball.
Right.
Nobody does. But at the same time, I do know that's a very talented room, and there's talent all over the place at Vandy.
Yeah.
Now, and they got the right piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. You talk about tough questions from Jake. I know Coach Lee is a Vanderbilt guy, but what kind of offer pulls him away from Vanderbilt, if any? And I'll say this, I don't think there's any.
I don't know if there's an offer.
I don't think there's any, you know, because
Coach Lee, he is so passionate about this university and this program, and he wants nothing more than this program to succeed and be everything that it can be to the highest level that it can go. So that's the vision is to build the best college football program in the country. And I think he's well on his way to accomplishing that mission that he set out to do. I don't know if he'll ever leaves. You know, we spoke as a team of like what we wanted to accomplish. Like, what does Vanderbilt football look like in 15 years from now, 20 years from now? And, you know, at the end of the day, Coach just wants this program to succeed. And he was like, yeah, you know, down the road when I'm an old guy, you know, and all you guys are starting to feel old, and we'll sit around and talk about how hard it was in the initial days, but we're going to be the few that knew how hard it was, that have a recollection of what it was before, what we laid the foundation for. So
you're in a unique spot, Joe.
Heck, I'm literally just an average Joe now. Like I literally have the Average Joe's Gymnasium T-shirt from that movie. Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Yeah, I think my uncle got that for me a few years ago for Christmas. But heck, I'm the captain of Average Joe's Gym. But no, I don't like hypotheticals. I don't speculate on things. I love Coach Lee. He has done a phenomenal job for this program. He's a true leader of men, and every Vanderbilt fan should be very, very happy to have him leading the charge for this football team. I won't dig into it any more than that.
Yeah.
Other than you know, wherever Coach Lee's career takes him, I wish him the most success to the highest degree I can wish anybody. So that's just because out of respect for him and who he is as a man and father and husband, and as a coach. But that's a hypothetical. I don't see him ever leaving, to be quite honest.
I'm with you. Nate asked, and I think this is a good point. Well, he makes a point here. He said, my takeaway was Vandy getting under the skin of Dylan Stewart in the fourth quarter. He got a frustration ejection in the fourth quarter. He was going at it a little bit with Bryce Henderson, ironically.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You didn't really notice Dylan Stewart.
No.
And you didn't notice Lenore Sellers because he didn't play in the second half, and unfortunately for South Carolina, got hurt.
You're right.
But Dylan Stewart, did he impact the game? I mean,
yeah, obviously behind the scenes, yeah.
Right.
He wasn't at the forefront of things, but I think that team plays at a really high level. But like you said, like I touch on a good bit, is when you have a team that plays with emotion but doesn't play emotionally, that's really powerful. But when you have guys that get over that line and play emotionally,
good luck.
Then you get penalties, then you play undisciplined, then your talent, your production as a player comes down, right? I've never met, especially in the trenches. Oh man, it's a fist fight. It's a fist fight without calling it that.
Yeah.
We throw pads and helmets on these guys, and it's
modern day gladiators.
It is.
That's what people.
It's so physical, and the guys are taking, bullets, essentially, like, guys rushing off the edge, and they just got, running backs taking guys on. And,
well, that first play you saw, I mean,
yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that when most penalties happen of like unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, or it gets in the trenches when the heat is turned up, tempers are flying, and the teams that can keep their composure and not do the stupid things that get them penalties, that it puts them in a whole different category, because you can't be broken.
Yeah.
Right. Your discipline cannot, and focus can't be broken. And, South Carolina's, they got frustrated. They got way too emotional, and it happens.
Right. Damani, besides offensive line and quarterback, and we'll wrap it up here soon, which position group do you expect us to spend the most money on in the portal? All due respect, we are way out. We're way out on that question because, look, Vandy's going to be a different team next year. That's how it is in college football. It's year after year. That just is how it is. You're building each year, and
it's crazy. It's like a free agency.
So we'll table that a little bit, just because there's so much still to be determined. Langston Patterson and Issa Wataha are working to get another year, which we haven't touched on, but. It's things like that we'll kind of wait on. That is a good question.
Again, hypotheticals and speculation, man. Nobody has a crystal ball, but it is good food for thought down the road.
Yeah. Midge, Joe, best shoulders ever on a man.
Who said that?
Midge.
Midge.
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate you, buddy.
That's one of the better ones so far. Another good point, Nate says, I truly believe if Vandy plays turnover-free football, they can keep up with any team in the country. And you've said that. You have said that. Jamie says, I love the ability of the offense to continuously play ahead of the sticks.
Yeah, when you don't have to battle to get to the sticks, on third and long, like if you can stay ahead of schedule, and Coach Lee, stay ahead of schedule.
Stay ahead of schedule. There you go.
That really opens up the doors. One, to take shots. I remember watching the Saints growing up, and watching Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I knew on first down, because their offense was so good. Drew Brees is about to throw an absolute nuke to Devery Henderson or try and hit Lance Moore on a deep shot. Yep. I just knew, like, half the time on first down, they had a guy taking a shot, whether that he was covered or not. But when you stay ahead of the sticks and your offense is, rolling like a freight train, you're able to be more explosive and take those shots, because, we took a shot and, maybe it's incomplete. Okay, well, 2nd and 10, 5-yard gain. All right, 3rd and 5, convert, or even shorter than that. But being competitive and getting positive yardage, even on a short yardage play, run plays, falling forward, something as simple as that, tucking the ball, don't put the ball on the ground, quarterbacks getting the ball out on time.
Yeah.
It all adds up. And so they're doing a really nice job. And so, yes, staying ahead of a schedule is extremely important for this offense.
Joe, we got to wrap it up here soon. Good stuff, though. This is.
I enjoyed this one, man.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because I didn't have my suit and tie on or
a little loose.
Yeah, it was a little bit looser today.
Yeah.
It's hotter today. Oddly enough, it was like almost 90.
It's been hot.
It was almost 90 today, and then the past few weeks it's been like really nice, like in the 70s.
Yeah.
But I love this podcast, man, and it's always feels good to come on here after like a big win.
Oh my gosh,
we haven't discussed a loss.
Maybe have you thought of are we what's keeping these wins come? Like,
no, that would actually be Miss Lauren. So Miss Lauren, my girlfriend, her first game to a Vandy game was actually Virginia Tech last year. So as soon as she started coming to the home games, things started changing. So we have the little running joke that Miss Lauren is the.
So are you being strategic about? Hey,
she goes to every home game.
Okay,
she comes with me to every home game.
I didn't know if you were, hey.
No, and then like obviously Alabama a few weeks later, and all those games that follow, and
Alabama's a trip, and we've talked about that. And that's a game that I would love to try to get down to. Obviously Knoxville a little bit later, but some fun road trips, man. And it's
a great road schedule this year.
Absolutely. They get to come back home though for these next couple of weeks, and
that's gonna
the
be
crowds
good.
here.
That's gonna be great.
Are gonna be unbelievable,
phenomenal.
Yeah. And
I'm so excited for it.
Next Saturday night, 6:30 kickoff. If you're not here, you can watch it on ESPNU. And again, want to tell you a little bit about FanDuel, one of our other sponsors. Thank you to them. You can place a little bit of money on Vanderbilt if you'd like. They are minus 27.5. So 27.5 point line for Vanderbilt. You can get them on the money line at minus 4,000. So not the best value there. But over under 52.5. So Vegas looking for a lot of points to be scored here. They won't need much motivation this week, Joe.
No. Especially after what happened last year. Obviously that's a game that got away from them, and they would love to have them back.
And how about the timing of this? Because this could be Austin Peay. And by the way, Austin Peay is a feisty team this year, but lucked out a little bit that, hey, they beat you last year.
Yeah. No, Georgia State's a talented team, especially when you talk about like the day and age of transfer portal. And
they've got some athletes.
They've got some athletes like on that team, especially at the skill position level. So like you've got, if I had to venture to say, probably Georgia Tech transfers, Georgia transfers.
Yeah.
Like Georgia's a very talented football state, and obviously in the Carolinas, there's a lot of talent around there, and so they have they've pulled from the portal a decent amount, and so they've got talent, and they showed it last year. I know nobody is taking a deep breath of like, oh, we have Georgia State this week. Absolutely not. Heck, we lost to them last year. So there's going to be a ton of focus on this game.
Right.
Nobody's going to be, laissez-faire about this one. I expect that offense to come out firing, control the clock, defense do their thing.
Yep.
This is the point in time where if complacency would set in, this is the type of game that like any team would probably set in for after a big win. Then you have I guess you'd say a lesser opponent game.
Yeah.
Or what's the term for it? Like
cupcake?
No, it's like it's like
the money game, maybe.
No, there's a term for it, but like you come off a really big game and then you have
the trap game.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's a trap game, but it's not a trap game for Vandy. Like they're going to take this one seriously. I know these players remember what it was like last year when things went down over there. So I'm excited for them to tee it up next weekend.
Yeah, Georgia State so far, they opened at Ole Miss. They lost 63-7. And then they played Memphis actually at home and lost that one 38-16. Last week, though, they beat Murray State 37-21. And Joe, if you remember, you mentioned the talent they have, especially at the skill position spots. Ted Hurst, the receiver that won the game last year, is still on this team.
Yeah.
So he's another guy to watch. And their quarterback, I'm trying to look and make sure that they actually have TJ Finley.
That's right.
Does that name ring a bell? TJ Finley, I think this is his seventh school.
I want to say he's actually from my area in Louisiana. I want to say maybe Ponchatoula.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I want to say Ponchatoula.
He's been at Auburn.
Like in our district from high school.
Yeah.
He's been a lot of places, but the opponent is faceless. Like I know Coach Lee preaches that all the time. Like the opponent is faceless. It does not matter who we play. And I think the team, the players believe that too, and they understand what it takes to win. And it really doesn't matter who you're lined up against.
Yeah,
your job is to go dominate your opponent. And so I think that's what the mindset of Vanderbilt football is.
As we wrap up, a few more comments. Nate says, am I the only one a tad worried about Utah State? They're a feisty ball club. They are.
We got a handful of coaches over there.
Yeah.
From Vandy.
Nick Howell.
Nick Howell, yeah.
Bronco Mendenhall, right? He wasn't at Vandy, but is
he over there?
I want to say Bronco Mendenhall is the head coach. I could be totally mistaken, though.
I don't follow too many teams, man. I'm pretty streamlined on who I follow.
I'm almost positive he's the head coach over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, you can say that about everybody on this schedule, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Alan, to close it out, it's a good comment. Bulovas was a bright spot in some lean times early on with Coach Lee, always practicing to master his craft as a kicker at Vandy. How about that?
Yeah, I sure loved it, man. You know, being a kicker was something I truly loved. It was something that I did from a very young age, and man, it was being able to do it here at Vandy with such great people. Man, that's a big reason why I came back to Nashville to do something bigger than myself with Raymond James. But you know, being able to see the evolution of this program and to be a small part of that, of the foundation. Yeah. You know, I shot Coach Lee a text. You know, after the game last night, and just say, you know, enjoy the win with your guys. You know, couldn't be prouder of y'all. Yeah. But being able to be a small part of the foundation for what you're seeing now, it was special to me, and any guy that I played with would tell you the same, that they do anything for this program, and so I just try and do the best I can.
Right. And Brock Taylor actually,
he
hit a
really
51-yarder.
Yeah, he did a really nice job. I saw he's got a nice little streak going for him. So
yeah, 14 straight makes.
Yeah, he's done a nice job, man. He's been a good weapon for that program, man.
Yeah. Hour and a half. Not too bad.
Man, Miss Lawrence will be ticked. I was supposed to pick up dinner too. Guess we'll have to find some Wendy's or McDonald's.
There you go.
We'll find something on the way home.
Joe, to wrap up, just I know you hit on at the beginning there.
Yeah.
You know, some of those deteriorating, you know, assets. Was deteriorating the word you said?
Yeah.
Just that's something to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, it's not deteriorating, but you know, we've been running at all-time highs from a financial standpoint in the stock market. So for quite some time now. So really the past 2.5, 3 years, the market's been on a tear. And now when we go on a run like this, we really want to take the opportunity to reevaluate our strategies. We want to look at our asset allocation. We want to potentially look at rebalancing our strategies to make sure we're not overweight a certain sector or maybe even a certain company. The example I gave earlier was NVIDIA. A lot of people held that in their portfolio. And now a lot of people don't realize that it could be somewhere up to like 20% of your overall portfolio, which obviously that's a lot of exposure, but it's just a good idea to rebalance and take a little, you know, get some eyes on things right now to make sure you're in the best position possible. And so obviously if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm happy to help out, point you in the right direction. And now is certainly a great opportunity to have a discussion about that.
Love it. Joe, appreciate it.
Always.
That was a good one right there. Obviously, Vandy.
You can't go for an hour and a half and be bad.
No, that was good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for all the comments and questions too. Obviously, huge thanks to Joe and Bulovas Wealth Management. RaymondJames.com/Bulovas Wealth Management is the website. And again, we're, you know, if you're reading our articles, you're seeing the information. If you're reading message board posts, you're seeing the information. So again, can't thank Joe enough. But hey, Vandy's 3-0. They're number 20 team in the country, and it's going to be fun to continue to see what this team does down the stretch here, Joe. We got Vandy and Georgia State this Saturday night, 6:30 on ESPNU. We'll be right back here next Sunday to recap it. But Joe, we'll see what this thing keeps doing. Should be fun.
Well, you just keep adding coal to that engine and let it ride down the tracks, man. I'm excited to see where this team goes. They got, like I said before, they got a lot of great people in that building doing the things the right way. So couldn't be prouder to be a Door. Man, they're a fun team to watch. So anchor down. And
we're trying to do the right thing for you guys as well. For Joe Bulovas, I'm Billy Derrick. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Star V Sundays.
Anchor down.